Hello and welcome to WMT Reviews Avengers Month. I am Wiseman Tanofsky. Let's talk about the plot twist. A plot twist is commonly known as an unexpected development in the story, whether it be in books, television, or any other form of storytelling. To spoil a few, Bruce Willis being a ghost in Sixth Sense, Snape turning out to be a good guy all along in Harry Potter, or the fact that the events of Saw 4 are running at the same time as that of Saw 3. The aim of the plot twist is to change the viewer's perspective of the story, introducing a new idea or changing an existing one, such as the 2001 film The Others, which sees the mother believing her house to be haunted, but discovering that she is in fact the ghost. Plot twists work when they add something new to the story, catching the viewer off guard and achieving the "oh" they set out for. With that in mind, let's move on. Well, the final film of Marvel's first phase was complete. Avengers was a worldwide success, and Marvel had finally trumped DC at the box office in the eyes of the fans, outdoing The Dark Knight Rises by $500 million 2 months later. With Phase 1 complete, work immediately began on Phase 2. The after-credits scene teased the fanbase with the revelation of Thanos the Mad Titan as a potential future villain. And the world over, appetites were whetted for more Marvel hero action. And so it only made sense to return to the franchise which started it all, with a second sequel to Iron Man. Now, anyone who's seen my vlog post on third films will know that this is where movies either take their place in cinema history or flop outrageously. And Iron Man 3 did the latter for me. Personally, this is without doubt the single worst film in the MCU. And regrettably, it's time to have a look at why. This is the WMT review of Iron Man 3. So what's the story? Tony Stark, played once again by Robert Downey Jr., is coming to terms with his own mortality following the events of the Avengers movie, resulting in numerous anxiety attacks. Meanwhile, the world is being terrorized by an increasing number of explosive attacks, seemingly orchestrated by a terrorist leader calling himself the Mandarin, played by Ben Kingsley, who targets and destroys Stark's home following a direct challenge. Left with nothing but an experimental Iron Man suit, Stark hides out in Tennessee while he rebuilds and prepares to go after the Mandarin in person, with the aid of a boy called Harley, played by Ty Simpkins. However, when Stark storms the Mandarin's hideout, he finds nothing more than an actor playing a falsified role, before being captured by the real mastermind, Aldrich Killian, played by Guy Pearce, the head of rival company AIM. Abducting the president and infecting Pepper with Extremis, the experimental and volatile healing agent behind the explosions, Killian's forces are eventually overwhelmed by an army of remote Iron Man drones, while Killian himself is killed by Pepper, played by Gwyneth Paltrow. Okay, so why don't I like this film? Because a lot of people seem to really like it, as much as other parts of the Iron Man trilogy and the Avengers series itself. One word: boring. This film is so slow and so unengaging that I just couldn't get into it at all. A lot like the countless Iron Man drones, it just feels empty. There was no character behind anything that was going on. It just dragged on and on. And when it got to the 75-minute mark and we have the big reveal of Trevor Slattery, the true face of the Mandarin, I just lost the will to go on. One of Iron Man's greatest enemies completely destroyed with just a few rolls of film. What a disappointment. Now, I'm fully aware that Marvel has since released a one-shot called All Hail the King, which revealed that there is a true Mandarin somewhere in the MCU, but I don't care. I don't want another Mandarin. I wanted the Mandarin that I saw for the first half of this film. I really enjoyed that Mandarin, and that was the villain that I wanted. But the problems don't end there. I didn't even enjoy RDJ as Stark this time around. The one or two mean-spirited moments from the second movie expand across most of the film this time round. He acts like a complete, unlikable cretin. He's outwardly rude, thoughtless, selfish. There's no redeeming side to him either. There's no comedy. I didn't find it funny at all. The character I saw in the first movie was completely gone. Now, supposedly this has to do with the knock-on effects of the Avengers. Of course, Stark was almost killed in the final battle, and that's left him shaken, but really? I don't see the character from the first film reacting like that. This was the guy taken prisoner by terrorists in the desert, held underground, his life in danger every single day, and he came out of that more determined than ever. It just doesn't work for me. I didn't like Paltrow as Pepper this time either. The likeable and caring character I saw in the first film wasn't there, and in her place we got this whiny attention seeker. who's annoyed Stark is spending too much time perfecting his Iron Man suits and not enough time with her, to the point where Stark destroys them all at the end and removes his arc reactor. Now I know this was supposed to be endearing to show how much she means to him, but really? The world needs Iron Man more than Pepper Potts needs a foot rub. One of the only people I enjoyed watching was the return of Don Cheadle as Rhodey. War Machine has been rebranded as Iron Patriot, who I believe was an alternate personality for Norman Osborn in the comics, otherwise known as the first Green Goblin. But anywho, Rhodes has his own storyline going on where he's charged with hunting down the Mandarin and protecting the president. He's one of the only people in the film who actually gives a decent and enjoyable performance, so I thank him for that. Now let's have a look at the villain, and I'd like to talk about Ben Kingsley at the Mandarin at this point, but I can't because he's not the real villain. Instead we have Guy Pearce as Killian. You know how I said Hammer paled in comparison to Stain? Well, now we have it happening in the same film. Killian has no screen presence at all when compared to Kingsley, and Kingsley isn't even the real villain. It's just another backstabbing corporate enemy, like we haven't had enough of those so far this series. Seriously, it worked so well in the first film, but that doesn't mean do it again and again and again, and certainly don't sacrifice a character like the Mandarin and replace him with this dull, boring and uninteresting backstory that's just not plausible. What, he got stood up for one meeting and turned into a sociopath? His extremist powers are inconsistent, his character is almost impossible to get invested in, he's just a waste of screen time. And here's the really tragic thing. Until that 75-minute mark, I really enjoyed Ben Kingsley's Mandarin. I enjoyed it more than Jeff Bridges' Obadiah Stane. I really did. He was dark, he was intimidating. His screen presence dominated every one of his brief scenes. His delivery was cold and chilling. I thoroughly enjoyed every moment he was on screen. Right up to that twist, and then my God, did I lose interest in this movie. I don't care what's happened on TV since, I'm dealing with the films, and this decision, the decision to turn the Mandarin into nothing more than a character, a front for Killian's experiments, it just killed the film dead in the water for me. A fantastic performance which brilliantly modernised a classic villain, utterly ruined, and what do we get in his place? More bloody comic relief. Just no. Even more so than The Incredible Hulk or even Godzilla, I felt like I was watching an Iron Man movie with no Iron Man in it. I realise it was intended to show off Stark's ingenuity and the fact that he can handle himself out of the suit, and the scene where he storms the fake Mandarin's hideout did succeed in that, but I see an Iron Man movie for Iron Man and there was barely any in it at all. The main villain was killed by Pepper. Come on! And most of the time when there was an Iron Man, it was just a hollow suit. A hollow suit which blasted apart with ease, whereas previous marks have taken shots from tanks. Quite an appropriate metaphor for the film, to be honest. Where previous films stood strong, this one just shattered. Frankly, Iron Man 3 doesn't belong in the MCU at all. It pales in comparison to every film that's come before and every film that follows. I struggle to get through it any time I have to watch it. Badly paced, badly written, no AC/DC on the soundtrack. It's just plain boring. Looking ahead, it seems like this will be the last standalone Iron Man movie, and I thank the gods for that. Any more like this would have started to reflect badly on the amazing film which started it. As for this one, I don't feel I can award it any more than a 4 on the Orsometer, and that's largely held up by the character that Kingsley put out for the first half and Rhodey's little side quest to stop him. The rest of the film is just tedious. So that's a disappointing 4 on the Orsometer for Iron Man 3. I've been Wise Man Tanofsky, this has been WMT Reviews Avengers Month. Thank you very much for listening.